Hello everybody and welcome back to Neptune's Rings. We're here again in in Kerbal Space Program, where we will be bringing Jebediah home after his successful trip to the moon. Let's see if I can do this. Should be fine, have plenty of fuel. And then we still have, once we eject these, I'll have this entire fuel tank. It will be full on its own, full on its own. So it should be fine. We just have to launch and burn due east. So here we go. Wait, that's not east. This is east. Straight to Kerbin. And getting back into orbit around the moon is super easy. You just launch up a little bit, burn due east, and or west, or north, or south, or whatever direction you want to orbit in. Really, you just go for it. There's hardly any gravity to contend with, and there's no atmosphere to contend with. Don't think there's any atmosphere modeled on the moon in Kerbal Space Program. I think our actual moon, it has like very small amounts, but it's completely negligible. Like, we don't even consider it to have atmosphere, but it does have very small trace amounts, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, honestly. I don't always believe me. Perhaps it's going up still. We can burn a little bit harder, I guess. So in case you're unaware, Apollo landing, they had a command module which stayed in orbit, and then they had the lander module, which actually went down to the moon and landed, and then came back up, docked with the module, and then went back to Earth. So that's kind of what I want to do. I want to have a module like this that'll stay in orbit, and then a lander here that will go down, come back up, then the whole thing will go to Minmus and do the whole thing again, and then come back. That's the ideal mission that I'm trying to get. But we'll see what actually happens. And actually, I didn't do this entirely efficiently. If you remember in one of my previous episodes, I kind of went over how to look at orbits where if you wanted to go back to the Earth and Kerbin and you're around the moon, you would burn prograde to extend your orbit out this way, which is retrograde in the moon's orbit, so you're taking energy out of your orbit, which will put you in a lower orbit around Kerbin. So if I were smart, I would realize I was already pointing in the retrograde moon orbit. I could burn straight up from where I was, and I wouldn't have had to do any circularization. Would have just gone straight into a lower Kerbin orbit. But I'm already here. We'll just circularize. We should have plenty of fuel to do so. As well as, like, I guess it helps. We can get some science from around the moon so that we can fulfill that other contract we have. Once we return to Kerbin, we will have recovered the scientific data, and we'll get points for that. Which I guess in actuality, crew report. I hope that didn't override. Oh, I don't have an antenna. I hope that it didn't override a crew report that I took earlier that actually gave me something. I don't know if I actually had one of those though. But if we had an antenna, we could have transmitted it, and since we already did it, it would give us 0 data anyway, so it wouldn't matter. But generally, I like to always return my science because I like getting the full value for it. Which actually, I think if you transmit it, you can transmit it multiple times to eventually get up to the full data value. I think. Like I said, I don't like doing that, so I've never tried it. But it's worth a look at. I might give that a try. But for now, we're just drifting. I'll speed up time a little bit so we're not, you know, drifting for hours and hours on end, and we can actually get somewhere in this episode. I'll probably do a lot of time warp through the boring drifting parts of this and skip ahead a little bit. That way you don't have to sit here with me the whole time while I'm just drifting. That way we can actually get somewhere, build our craft, and start our mission to Minmus at the very least. And just a little bit higher. Yeah, that should be good. Not ideal, but that'll be fine. Add a maneuver here and just whoop. You see it brings down our periapsis there. 200, yeah, we have plenty of fuel for that. Honestly, I wonder actually. It's so sensitive. But if we were to kind of I'm just wondering what it would take to get an encounter with Minmus from here. Because that could be a pretty neat thing to do. Just, come on, this thing's very squirrely. Because we should still have, we have 300 meters per second delta V, and then we have 1200, and 1200 should be more than enough to get back to Kerbin from Minmus. I'm just not very, I don't go to Minmus very often. Oops. Okay, whatever. Make a note there if we can. Add a maneuver. We want to burn down to get into Minmus's plane. I think we actually had a encounter for a moment. I'm gonna fiddle around with this for just a little bit and see if I can get something that'll get us into a Minmus orbit, and if not, we'll just go back to Kerbin and do the original plan. Alright guys, welcome back. I actually was able to manage to get a maneuver that's not that costly in Delta V. Like, I think we can actually 167.8. Yeah, we can still do that with this one engine, and we'll easily be able to land on Minmus. Honestly, like, it takes so little Delta V to land on Minmus. It takes 200. So that'll 200, 400 from that. We'll have 800 to get back to Kerbin. Should be easy. Should be easy. Where am I? Oh, that's where I'm at. So that's what we're gonna end up doing then. Hopefully we don't get stranded. It would be like me to get stranded though. So we'll see what happens. Let's see how far until our maneuver. Not too long. We'll just do a quick little time warp to it. Okay. When I say quick little time warp, it takes a little while. So we're going to do this first burn, which is going to get us into roughly the correct orientation to do this maneuver. going to take 12 seconds, so we want to burn at 6 seconds till maneuver node. We're going to get us roughly to the right orbital distance, and then we're going to have to do a correction burn about there, which will get us into the right inclination. Which I would be more than happy to explain a little bit better once we get a little bit closer and we actually finish this burn, so that I know that we actually achieve what we need to achieve. There we go. That was a little stressful. As it Minmus is so far away and it takes so little delta V at this distance to make very large changes into your orbit. It's very stressful when things don't necessarily go correctly. Okay, I think that should be good. Oh, nope. As you can see, I didn't quite do the burn correctly, so oops, yeah. Who knows where we're gonna end up now, actually. Well, that's not what I actually meant to do. I think we burned prograde, actually. We might have overshot slightly. Okay. Right there. Okay. Perfect. That's about what our orbit looked like before I put in the correction burn. So that'll be fine. We'll work with that. But for now, we will leave the sphere of influence of the moon and we'll go into this orbit around the Kerbin, and then we'll get to this point where we will redo the node. And I'll see y'all when we get a little bit closer, and I'll explain to y'all the whole inclination thing real quick. But I'll see you when we get there. Hey guys, welcome back. Okay, so we've gotten a little bit closer, and I'll explain the inclination real quick. As you can see, this green orbit here is what the Minmus is doing, and you can see Kerbin's right there, yeah, that's about Kerbin. The moon is going around about flat. And you can see Minmus is kind of at an angle compared to the orbital plane. This little angle right here. This blue line is our orbit, and you can see there's a big difference. And these angles can cause really, really big differences in distance between the planets. So we'll never meet it if we're on this, because unless we're at the 2 points that will intersect each other, since we're not on the right plane, which will be the descending node and the ascending node. So what we want to do is put a maneuver. Wow, sorry about that, guys. Put a maneuver here at the ascending node, and we want to burn normal. Oops, sorry, anti-normal. I'm looking at the wrong orbit here. We want to burn anti-normal, which is going to bring our plane down into the correct angle to be in the same orbital plane as Minmus. So that will minimize our distance here. And hopefully that will get us close enough like that to get an encounter with Minmus. There we go. Bring it down a little bit more. Get it down as slow as possible into the correct inclination. You can see we're off. The ascending node means we're off by 0.4 degrees. Let's see if we can bring it down a little bit more. Nope, I'm just raising it. We're gonna bring it up a little bit. Negative 0.9, 0.8, 0.7, 5, 3. Oops, overshot it. Ooh, by a lot. 1.1. Okay, perfect. We can live with that, and we'll get within 1,000,000 meters of Minmus if we do this burn correctly. And hopefully we will, because last time we messed up, so fingers crossed. We'll just warp to the maneuver. And this, like, in-game, if I didn't time warp, this would have taken days to get to this point. So when I told y'all that I always wanted to kind of do a mission where I just fly and don't do any time warping, that's the length of time that these things would take. So that's why I haven't done that, and probably why most people don't do that. I actually don't know if anyone's ever done that. That would be really interesting to see, actually. Like I said, I'd be really interested to do it. It's just very, very time consuming. But we'll just warp to, or get a little bit closer to this maneuver. As you can see, it takes so little delta V to do it. So it's going to be very touchy to get the correct burn time on this. And hopefully we get the correct approach. And it gets so cluttered with all these lines of different orbits. Bring it in just a little bit. We can get rid of that now, because we have our encounter there, which we can just kind of fiddle around with just a little bit as we please. We'll leave it there because otherwise we're probably going to end up slingshotting outside of the solar system. Which actually, the farther out we go will be better because we can bring our periapsis down easier for less delta V. But on that same note, we still have to kill all that energy with our heat shield, which makes me nervous because I don't really want to burn up on re-entry after doing this. So we'll just continue on with our orbit, and I'll bring you back when we're a little bit closer. Hello guys, welcome back. And we're getting pretty close. As you can see here, if you can decipher all the lines and colors, I know it's kind of hard. It tricks me sometimes. Our periapsis will actually be lower than originally expected. It'll be about 200,000 meters, so 200 kilometers. Wow, I'm sorry about that. And if we actually continued on, we'd escape Minmus and get into this really nice orbit to go back to Kerbin pretty efficiently if we just let ourselves go down to periapsis and back up to apoapsis. Then we'd be in a very ideal position to burn ourselves down into the atmosphere. We can even lower our apoapsis down so that we wouldn't have to get rid of so much energy. We can use our fuel to get rid of some of the energy instead of relying purely on aero braking. But we don't want to do that. We actually want to land on Minmus. So we're going to get to our periapsis here, and we're going to warp until we're in the sphere of influence as I talk to you. But we're going to get to our periapsis here, and then we're going to circularize and then lower ourselves down, and then we're going to actually land on Minmus. That's a weird orbit. But yeah, I don't like to actually warp to periapsis here because I want to get into the sphere of influence before I warp to a point in that trajectory in case something funky happens with the whole time warping thing. But this has been going pretty good, so here we are. Time to burn and hopefully circularize without using too much fuel. Yeah, we should have plenty to do this though. We're not even using nearly any to do this. There we are. Bring ourselves in quite a bit so we don't have to use too much fuel to actually land this thing. I realize now a slight flaw in my craft is my landing legs are on these boosters that we plan to eject, so we need to be very careful not to eject our landing legs. Although the gravity on Minmus, wherever it may be, there it is so low that we could land without the landing legs. It's so low. So low. But as you can see, 8 meters per second, we're barely burning. We're bringing our periapsis way down, so it's hardly anything. We're gonna probably bring it down to 15 kilometers, something like that. I just want to be careful not to hit one of the ridges, one of the mountains around Minmus. So that's my main concern. Okay, perfect. We'll do some warping to get down here, so that we can lower our apoapsis. And I don't want to go all the way down to the periapsis because, like I said, I want to be very careful not to hit those mountains. Oops, wrong button. I wanted to time warp. That's not even close to the right button. Okay, we're gonna kind of wait to get to our periapsis so that we'll burn efficiently to bring down our apoapsis. But that should be fine. We don't have to be terribly efficient with any of this. You see our delta V is kind of changing. It's a little wibbly with the whole fuel feed system. Oops. Well, I guess we're landing. Nope, don't want to do that. Where are we landing? I don't want to land there. That was way inefficient. I'm gonna burn that way so we can bring up our periapsis. Alright, that should, yeah. I'll avoid any any mountains or anything, we'll warp to about here. I feel fairly safe that we're not going to hit any mountains, so we're just going to time warp to it. And we're going to land. We're going to pick a nice sunny spot to land. Actually, should burn normal. I think anti-normal is where I want to burn to bring. I want to wait to about here actually, and then burn anti-normal to change our inclination just a bit. Didn't quite do what I wanted, so we're going to try this other way. This wouldn't be it because that's north. Nope, that's too. Stop. Okay. My fingers don't always do what I want them to do, so that was not quite ideal. Okay, I'm gonna stop playing around because we're starting to get into the scary zone with fuel, so we're just gonna kill our speed and everything and go in for a landing. And kind of try to go this way. Well, as you can see, we already killed all of our speed, so just gonna kind of spin around so we have the proper orientation. We're kind of going down. Kind of want us to go this way. Just a bit, because I want to get out of this mountain area. I want to get over there to that flat zone. There you go. Like I said, I'm really just flying by the seat of my pants right now. I think that's the expression. Which ideally I'd want to land about here, but Kerbin or Minmus will rotate, so that should actually be a really good spot to land. And then we can just take off straight and be super fuel efficient in that regard, as long as we actually land properly, don't destroy anything, and hopefully have enough fuel to take off again. Like, looking at the levels over here, it's really terrifying, but our delta V looks fine. We still have about 1100 meters per second delta V, and after we land we'll ditch a lot of this weight, so we won't be carrying a lot of it back, so that'll help us well. Let's do a little bit of time warping because we're kind of drifting a little bit slowly, but that makes sense as you can see. Okay, we can stop that time warp a little bit. I still want to go this way a little bit though. Yeah. Yeah, it was 90 that I want to be going. We'll go that way a little bit. Actually, I want to go that way. 45-ish. Ooh. That delta V dropped a lot. I don't know why. That's very, very, very concerning. So hopefully we didn't just strand ourselves. Leave it to me to do that. I wouldn't be terribly surprised. Oh god, this is stressful. Okay, we're gonna do just a tad bit of time warping to get us a little bit closer. Because it won't take much to stop ourselves. We're still pretty high up. And honestly, you can use a Kerbal's jetpack to land on Minmus. The gravity's so low. So burn a bit. Kill our vertical speed or horizontal speed. Wow, I'm really bad at that. Probably about 1,000 or 1,500 meters. I'll switch. About right there. I have most of our horizontal speed killed. Coming down, and I'm hesitant to say that that's enough fuel. I think it's not updating properly because I'm not burning like very hard. So it looks like we're going to get stranded on Minmus. Which is worse. Whoa. Yeah, looks like we're going to get stranded on Minmus. Okay. Well, I mean, I was saying there's worse places to get stranded. We just gotta make sure we don't break anything. There we go. I mean, can I rotate at all? Can rotate a little bit. Where's my door? Ooh, okay. No, we don't want to do that. Well, I mean, we made it. Let's take a quick crew report for Minmus. Do an EVA. Don't want to remove helmet. That's the last thing I want to do. Let's get back in real quick. We'll take all the science while we're here. And we'll just I remember to close this door. See, gravity's so low. Well, there's the sun. Where's plant flag? First, Minmus landing. I think I've landed on Minmus before. Help. Yeah, you can see we made it. Kind of at what cost though? You can see he just bounces around so much. So the gravity's so low. What is it doing? It's like dancing. I'm kind of concerned now. But this is a great point to leave off, and I guess we know what we're doing our next episode. We're launching a rescue mission for Jebediah, in which Valentina will get her experience. So I mean that'll be good. And oh god, it's a mess, but we'll figure it out. But this has been Neptune's Rings, and I hope you've enjoyed. See ya.